My mother-in-law told my wife's ex to relax. We're not replacing you. It's just a reminder you're not the only option. My wife laughed and said, if you're going to act insecure, just leave. So I left and took everything with me. Supreddit. So please bear with me. It's Tuesday afternoon and I'm sitting in my lawyer's office signing papers that will dissolve my marriage. My phone buzzes. It's Jared, my college buddy. The same guy who got me out of jail when things went wrong. You need to see this, man. He sends a picture, then another picture, and then a video. My wife, who will soon be my ex-wife, is outside my apartment building in the courtyard without shoes on. In December, she put crystals in a circle on the ground. There is a mason jar of stuff on the ground next to her. She is waving her hands in the air like she is attempting to get a helicopter to land. I wish I could make this up. My lawyer leans over and looks at my screen. Is she doing a ritual? I inform him that she's manifesting, or whatever she wants to call it this week. The following text from Jared. The security at the building is keeping an eye on her. No one knows what to do. This is crazy. I make the picture bigger. Natalie has on her jewelry for spiritual protection. The one she got for $80 on Etsy. I guess it doesn't protect you from divorce papers or prenups. A few months ago, I had a wife, in-laws, and a life that seemed regular from the outside. Now I'm seeing the same wife do a scene in the courtyard as my lawyer waits for me to sign the papers. How did I end up here? I'm glad you asked. This is what occurred. I am a 33-year-old man who works as an accounting manager at a firm that sells medical supplies. I make roughly $92,000 a year. My wife, Natalie, is 29 years old and works as a yoga teacher. She makes about $35,000 a year from her studio lessons and private customers. We had been married for 2 years and had been dating for 4 years before that. I made sure we had a prenup before we got married. My dad used to be a paralegal. Since I was 18, they drilled it into me. Love is great. It's better to have contracts. The prenup featured a section against cheating, whether it was emotional or physical, and a clause about financial cheating for any transactions exceeding $5,000 that weren't approved. She signed it without much trouble. She said she had faith that the cosmos will help our marriage. I trusted the documentation. She was normal and down-to-earth when we met. Had some crystals on her nightstand, but so do a lot of others on Pinterest. She didn't use it as a weapon. It happened around a year into our marriage, with manifestation podcasts and sage bundles. Then the words changed. Every argument turned into a fight over energy. Setting any kind of limit was low vibration behavior. I was getting into fights with my ego every time I called her out on something. She was using it to get out of doing her job. When I forgot to get groceries once, I messed up the peace in our house. When she spent all of her money on healing crystals and sound bowls, I was cut off to abundance because I questioned it. The universe taught me something every time she messed up. I was coming from a place of fear every time I was worried. I sat her down and talked to her about it once. I thought she used spiritual language to end discussions instead of having them. She smiled at me with pity and said, "You're just not ready to ascend yet." Then she burnt sage around my side of the bed to get rid of the energy that was holding me back. The vacation photographs and fancy bags that her older sister Kelsey posted on social media started to get louder. Deborah, their mom, loved it and kept sharing Kelsey's postings and commenting with loving emoticons. Natalie felt like no one could see her, so she turned to spirituality, the kind that turns responsibility into negativity and criticism into someone else's problem with their own energy. Her family was terrible. Sister Kelsey is 35 years old and sells drugs. Being the daughter who made it was her whole identity. There was nothing inside her marriage but a shiny shell. Chris, her spouse, was checked out, hardly talked at family functions, and looked like a guy who was going to spend the rest of his life in prison. But on Instagram, they are a couple goals. Her mom, Deborah, was in her early 60s and a retired teacher who had remarried into money. She cared a lot about how things looked, what her neighbors thought, and what she might talk about at her book club. Deborah never believed I was good enough for Natalie. Not because I was a bad person, but because I didn't have anything cool to brag about. She couldn't mention my son-in-law, who is a doctor. She had to say, my son-in-law is an accountant. And it hurt her body. They would say things about our apartment, when we would move up, whether I was really going to stay in accounting forever, and how Natalie could have had anyone. 2 years ago, Deborah gave Kelsey a Rolex and me a self-help book called Unlocking Your Potential. She had marked the chapters. Kelsey had birthday dinners in private rooms at steakhouses. Mine was at a chain restaurant where Deborah said the parking was bad. Constant little cuts. At a family cookout once, Deborah introduced me to her neighbor as Natalie's husband. Current like I was a lease she was going to trade in when the mileage got too high. Chris got that one too. Flashed me a look across the yard that said everything without uttering a word. Natalie calmed me down and said that she is like this because she is sick right now. I didn't think much of it. Natalie was nervous the week before Thanksgiving. They kept talking about alignment and energy protection and how Thanksgiving would be a test of our vibrations. I got home early on Tuesday and found Natalie on the phone in the bedroom with the door closed. She quickly stopped talking when I walked in. Stated that was only Kelsey. Too protective. I saw that Natalie had been looking for apartments on Wednesday morning. Her laptop was open to Zillow, which showed cheap studio flats all across town. I took a screenshot of it and didn't say anything. We drove to Deborah's house on Thursday morning. Chris was already there with Kelsey. He's decent enough, but he's quiet and has no life in his eyes. Deborah opened the door. Natalie, my dear, a big hug. After that, she stared at me. Matt is flat. I saw him after that. James, Natalie's ex-boyfriend, was lounging on Deborah's couch like he belonged there. I paused in the doorway. What is he up to here? Natalie put her hand on my arm. Don't make this strange. He's almost like family. Mom stayed close to him. He used to be your boyfriend. Matt, we're all grown-ups. This is about getting over your ego and accepting the spirit of the community. Deborah came in and touched James' arm. Take it easy, Matt. We are not taking your place. It's only a reminder that you have other choices. She stated it with a smile, as if she were telling the funniest story ever. I looked at her. Sorry. Natalie really did laugh, but it was an anxious laugh. I felt something change in my chest. Not anger, but clarity. James got up and reached out his hand. Hey, Matt. It's good to see you. I hope you don't mind that I'm crashing. Deborah asked me to come. I didn't shake his hand. You know about this? I assumed you were grown up enough to deal with it. It's only dinner. Only dinner. I didn't know that my wife's ex-boyfriend was coming to Thanksgiving. Deborah smiled at James. James has been really nice. He still checks in on me and brings me flowers on my birthday. That's the kind of guy that knows how to be a family man. She looked at me. Some folks just know how to do it. James shrugged in a modest way. Deborah has always been like a second mother to me. Kelsey came out of the kitchen and hugged James on the side. And he just obtained a promotion to regional director. We are quite proud of him. James waved it away. It's more of an executive job now, controlling operations in 4 states. Not clear, just buzzwords. From across the room, I could tell that his watch was costly, but up close, the face was a little misaligned. Copy. The crown was too thick, and the second hand moved in jerks instead of smoothly like it does on the actual thing. I had seen enough guys at work try to show off fake flexes to detect one right away. I glanced at Chris. He seemed like he wanted to disappear. Gave me a tiny nod to show that we were on the same page. This was a trap. They had planned this. James was invited just to remind me and Natalie of what she could have had. Natalie tried trying to make everything look regular. We went to the table. Deborah was at the head of the table. Kelsey was to her right, James was next to her, and Natalie and I were to her left. Chris was at the end. Already looked at. It started about 20 minutes in. Okay, Matt, Deborah responded. Natalie said, you're still in that same job. No movement on the promotion front. I'm doing well where I am. Steady work, good benefits. Deborah repeated, Sayadi, as if she were tasting something sour. Kelsey, didn't Chris just get a new job? Chris looked up, surprised. Yeah, VP of Operations now. Verations, Deborah said. That's the kind of path that makes a woman feel safe, not just steady. Chris looked like he wanted to run away. Later, I found out that he didn't even want the promotion. It meant he had to be away from his kids for additional hours. But Kelsey had lobbied for it since VP sounded better at dinner parties. James bent over. Hey, there's nothing wrong with being stable. Someone has to keep the middle down, right? Keep the middle down. He just termed it mediocre with a smile. Kelsey got in. Do you remember what I told Mom? I was looking at homes in Natalie's area. Not to buy, of course. We would never lower our standards, but property values are going down. The schools don't get good grades. I'd be quite worried about raising kids there. Natalie became stiff next to me. We had talked about kids who lived in that area. Natalie replied softly, "We're not going to stay there forever." I know, honey. Kelsey's voice was full of phony pity. I'm sure Matt has a plan. You do have a plan, don't you? To give my sister the life she deserves. Deborah nodded. Matt, that's all we want. To be sure that Natalie is okay and not stuck. Mom, I'm not stuck, Natalie remarked, but her voice sounded weak. No, sweetie. James, you always have choices, right? James lifted his drink a little. Always. Nat understands that I will always be there for her. He called her Nat. In front of me. Chris was looking at his plate. He didn't want to be a part of this. I told them that I thought we were doing well. We're glad. That should mean something. Glad. Kelsey stated. Yes, but happiness doesn't pay for expensive education. Happy doesn't help you find the proper neighborhoods. Kelsey, Chris said quietly. Maybe take it easy. She gave him a gaze that could freeze lava. He returned to his plate. Natalie's hand was patted by Deborah. Honey, I only want what's best for you. I think about Kelsey and the life Chris gives her. Is that really so bad? Natalie remarked, I do have everything. But she said that while glancing at James. That's when Deborah hit the nail on the head. James was just telling me about his new apartment. 3 bedrooms, a view of the city, and a doorman building, all by himself at 32. That's how ambition looks. She looked at me. Matt, when do you believe you'll be able to give something like that? James put his hands up. Come on, Deborah. Everyone's path is unique. Yes, it is. Some pathways just go farther than others. Kelsey laughed. James smiled. Deborah seemed happy, but something didn't feel right. James raved about the vistas and the downtown area, but when Chris asked which building, he was very cryptic. Close to the park. You know the place. No location, no floor number, just good feelings. I put that away. James touched his pockets as Deborah said she would pay for the sides she ordered today. I forgot my wallet in the car. I'll Venmo you later. It was the 3rd time I had seen him do that at family functions. Conveniently forgot to bring cash. Said they will pay back later. I stared at Natalie and waited for her to say something. Anything. She was quiet and stared at the table. Then Deborah lifted her drink. Let's raise a glass to family, success, Kelsey and Chris's wonderful life, James and his accomplishments, and Natalie, who I'm sure will work things out in the end. I put my fork down. Do you know what's interesting about this talk? Deborah's smile got smaller. What is that? You all haven't inquired if Natalie is happy. Not a single time. You talked about money, property values, and condos, but no one has ever inquired if she's really happy. You just thought she couldn't be. Kelsey rolled her eyes. Oh, here we go. For 20 minutes, you've been using her ex-boyfriend as a measuring stick to say I'm not good enough, and Natalie hasn't said a word to stop it. Is this what supper with your family means to you? Deborah's cheeks turned frigid. I think you're being pretty over the top. If you feel attacked, it might reveal more about how insecure you are than what we meant. James nodded. You need to be able to take honest criticism. Dude. My wife's ex is making jokes about what he can bring to Thanksgiving, and everyone is pretending like that's normal. Matt, it's a setup. Natalie's voice was harsh. Stop. You make me feel bad. I I was making her feel bad. Deborah went to the kitchen, whistling to herself as if everything was okay, to grab the turkey. I told them that this was all planned. You brought him here to make me feel bad and remind Natalie that she has choices. And no one had the decency to warn me. James stood up and got in my face. He had onion breath and his eyes were a little too brilliant. Deborah would not have needed to remind anyone of anything if you were man enough to handle a little competition. James, sit down. Or what? He pushed his chest out and moved closer. Are you going to cry over how you feel again? It's no surprise that Nat has been texting me. She deserves a real man, not a guy like you. The table got quiet. Natalie's face turned white. She didn't think he would say that out loud. James. Kelsey hissed. Not right now. But James was determined. He had been planning for months. And now it was finally time. Cheap cologne and ego coming together to make something dumb. Matt, do you know what your problem is? You're boring. You're safe. You're the guy women settle for when they can't find anyone better. And Natalie finally got it. Enough, Natalie said to James. No, let him finish, I said. My voice was calm and steady. I want to hear this, James said as he got further closer. I could see the misaligned face on that false watch because it was so close. Do you want to hear it? Okay. You are a placeholder. Always have been. And you know it deep within. That's why you feel so threatened right now. You know that as soon as Natalie wakes up, she'll come back to me. I didn't even blink. Didn't move. I just gazed at him. Are you done? Yes, I'm done. He poked my chest with his finger. What are you going to do? Placeholder. Nothing. You simply showed everyone who you are, and that's better than anything I could say. That's when he hit. James threw a fantastic right hook. Sloppy, you could see it coming from a mile away. The punch that a guy throws when he has always gotten his way and never had to deal with actual repercussions. A lot of arm, but no hip rotation, and his weight is on his front foot. I slipped it off. I could feel the breeze move past my face. Then I hit him back. One shot directly in the jaw. Good hip rotation and weight transfer. Everything my boxing coach taught me when I was in college. I had been boxing at the campus gym for 2 years. I started because I needed to do cardio. I stayed because I liked the rules. Never competed. I never wanted to. But I worked hard. Fought every week. Learned how to throw a punch that hit. The kind of hit that makes a sound that you can feel in your chest. The kind of hit that stops discussions. James's head jerked back. His eyes became blurry. His legs looked like overcooked spaghetti. He fell backward, arms flailing like a cartoon character, struggling not to fall off a cliff. He couldn't find his balance. Deborah had just left the kitchen with the turkey in her hands. 22 pounds of nicely roasted turkey on her grandmother's old serving tray. This was her time to shine. The best part of her Thanksgiving on Instagram. She never saw James coming. He smacked her as a linebacker hits a punt returner. The turkey flew across the air. Deborah's heels slipped on the wood floor. And then gravity took over. The bird fell right on her chest and blew up like a tasty grenade. There was stuffing all over the place. The gravy boat spilled over, spilling gravy all over her silk blouse. A drumstick broke off and got stuck in her hair. The bowl of cranberry sauce fell from the counter and hit her in the face. Deborah was lying on her back, covered in her own Thanksgiving food. Stuffing under her collar, gravy soaking through her silk, and cranberry sauce on her face like a scary holiday mask. James was on the floor next to her, moaning and grabbing his jaw. His fake watch had fallen off. It was lying in a puddle of gravy with a broken face. That bogus Rolex broke into pieces. Poetic. Chris laughed. A real chuckle that came from deep inside him and sounded like it had been stuck in his chest for years. His eyes were starting to tear up. I saw him take out his phone and point it at the floor, where Deborah was still sputtering. Kelsey gave him a look that could kill. This isn't a joke. Chris wheezed. It's a little funny. Natalie was stuck in place, palm over mouth, staring at me, her mom covered in chicken, and James, who was groaning on the floor. Finally, Deborah yelled, "My dinner," and vomited out the stuffing. She got up and glanced down at herself. There was gravy all over her chin. There was cranberry sauce in her eyebrows. You messed up my dinner. You messed up everything. But the gravy didn't burn her. Nothing happened because she had left the full spread out for almost an hour while she set up the table and lighting for the shots. Gave up taste for looks. The Instagram would have been spectacular. The real dinner? Disappointment at room temperature. Fitting. James hit first. I told you to calm down. I stood up for myself. He hit you and knocked you into the turkey. I don't care who did it first. It was like seeing a seal try to climb a water slide as Deborah was trying to get up, but her heels kept slipping on the oily floor. Call the police. Call them now, Natalie. Deborah yelled. Right now, call the police. Natalie took out her phone. Her hands were shaking. She stared at me one last time, as if she wanted me to say sorry, repair everything, and make everything go away. No, I didn't. She called. James was still on the floor, sitting in a pool of pan drippings and holding his jaw. He couldn't see clearly. Did anyone get the what was that? Chris kindly answered, that was a right hook. He had stopped attempting to disguise his grin. I took my jacket off the back of the chair. Kelsey asked, where do you think you're going? There were now gravy handprints on her dress. Outside to wait for the cops. I guess that's how we're going to handle this. You can't just leave after hitting someone. He swung first. I stood up for myself. Because of what he did, your mom fell down. That's what occurred. That's what I will tell the police. Chris witnessed that. Everyone turned to stare at Chris. Chris shook his head. James was the first to throw. I saw it. Kelsey's face twisted. You should be on my side. I agree with what really happened. Chris gazed at me with what seemed like respect. It was James who started it. Matt did it. After that, physics and turkey took care of the rest. I proceeded to the door and stepped over James, who was still sitting in a puddle of gravy and attempting to figure out what year it was. This isn't done yet. Deborah shouted from the ground. She had eventually been able to sit up, but she hadn't tried to stand up again. The drumstick was still stuck in her hair. No one had brought it up. You'll have to pay for this. Everything. I stopped at the entrance, turned around, and looked at the scene one last time. Deborah was coated in turkey and cranberry sauce, and she was screaming threats. James is sitting in a pool of gravy with a swollen jaw, staring blankly. Kelsey had gravy stains on her fancy outfit and looked like she had just seen her Instagram life fall apart. Chris isn't even trying to hide his smile anymore. Natalie was just standing there with her phone in her hand and tears on her face, not moving to help anyone. Not defending me or them, just standing still. I said, Happy Thanksgiving. I went outside and sent Jared a text. I could need your help tonight. What took place? Hit my wife's ex. There is turkey all over my mother-in-law. The police are coming. 3 dots showed up, then went away, then came back. I'm on my way. Don't say anything when I'm not there. Please tell me there's also a video of the turkey thing. I won't forget it, even though there isn't a video. About 15 minutes later, the police showed up. 2 cops. Professional. I was peaceful while sitting on the porch. James was in the house with an ice pack. Deborah had finally gotten up and was in the bathroom attempting to get cranberry sauce out of her hair. They got statements. James added, I attacked him for no reason. Deborah backed him up when she came out of the restroom, still a little orange from the cranberry sauce. Kelsey supported him. Natalie didn't say anything either way. She just stood there. Chris, on the other hand, said anything. He said, James threw the first punch, in a calm and clear voice. I watched everything that happened. He got in Matt's face, called him names, jabbed him in the chest, and then swung. Matt hit back with 1 punch. James lost his balance and knocked Deborah down. She was holding the turkey. That is exactly what happened. Kelsey looked at him like he had just set fire to their marriage and their mother's Thanksgiving. James said that wasn't what happened. His jaw was already becoming bigger. Words were growing soft. Chris stated that was exactly what happened. And if I have to, I'll say it again in court. The officers looked at each other. One of them took me aside. This is what's going on. We have statements that don't agree with each other. There's a mark on the guy's face. Someone is going to get arrested tonight, even if he threw first. I nodded. Do what you have to do. They handcuffed me, told me my rights, and put me in the back of the police car. I noticed Deborah at the doorway as we drove away. She was still a little orange from the cranberry sauce she hadn't totally cleaned off. She was still mad and had a piece of stuffing in her hair that she had missed. Natalie was behind her, crying. I didn't feel horrible. When you've been stuck in the wrong life, getting jailed can feel like release. When I got there, Jared was already at the station. The man came in wearing sweatpants and a hoodie, as if he had just gotten up from the couch. He had cash for bail and the name of a defense lawyer ready to go. Bees posted, he observed as we stepped outside into the cool night air. Misdemeanor assault, first offense. You'll be fine. Thanks for coming. Are you kidding? I've been waiting for something like this for years. Every time we hung out with Natalie's family, I could see you dying inside. This was inevitable. I'm just glad you finally snapped in style. We got in his car. He looked at me. So what now? I pulled out my phone, opened my contacts, found the number for a divorce attorney my coworker had recommended after his own disaster of a marriage. Now I go scorched earth. What about Natalie? She made her choice. She chose to sit there while they tore me down. She chose to call the cops on me for defending myself. She chose to not say one word in my defense. She's not my wife anymore. She's just the woman I used to be married to. And the prenup, that prenup is about to become the best investment I ever made. We got back to my apartment around midnight. I didn't go inside. Didn't even want to look at the place where I'd spent 2 years pretending everything was fine. I need to crash at your place tonight, I said. Already assumed. Guest rooms ready. At Jared's place, I sat on the couch for maybe an hour. Then I made some calls. First call, that divorce attorney. Left a voicemail. I need to file for divorce immediately. I have a prenup with an adultery clause and a financial infidelity clause. Both have been violated. Call me back as soon as you can. Second call, my bank's 24-hour line. Locked down our joint account. Set up a new individual account. Arranged to transfer my direct deposit first thing in the morning. Third call, building management's emergency line. The lease was only in my name. Natalie had never been added officially. I requested that they not let her add anyone to the lease or make any changes without my written approval. By 2 a.m., I had a plan. The next morning, I went back to the apartment while Natalie was at her yoga studio. Started taking back what was mine. Pre-marriage furniture, my gaming setup, my TV, my kitchen appliances, my books, my files, the good cookware my mom gave me, the espresso machine I'd bought with my first bonus, the Bluetooth speaker system I'd installed myself, the artwork I'd bought before we met, my tools, my winter gear, my every gift I'd given her that she'd shoved in a closet because it didn't match the energy. I left them there untouched for now. I also grabbed the box from our closet shelf. The one with our wedding album, her love letters from the first year, the ticket stubs from our first concert. I put it by the door. She could keep that. I didn't want any souvenirs from a lie. Then I changed every password. Netflix, Hulu, Spotify, Amazon Prime, Building Gym Fob, Garage Door Clicker. Removed her as an authorized user on my credit cards. Changed the Wi-Fi password. Set up 2-factor authentication on everything. 1 hour of work and she was locked out of every digital convenience I'd been paying for. I screenshot every text where she called my boundaries low vibration. Every time she chose her family over addressing their disrespect. Every spiritual buzzword she'd used to avoid accountability. Backed it all up to the cloud. Friday morning, Natalie texted, "Are you coming back? You hit James. Are you okay?" Not "you embarrassed me in front of everyone." Not "James threw the first punch." Not "I'm sorry my family treated you like that." Just concern about embarrassment. I didn't respond. She called twice. By noon, the text shifted. "This silent treatment is toxic. The universe is showing me that you're not aligned with growth right now. Mom's still finding stuffing in her hair. You owe her an apology. I saved that last one. Figured my attorney might appreciate the comedy. I spent Friday setting things up. The divorce attorney called back. Guy in his mid-40s. Sharp, no nonsense. We met that afternoon. How long married? 2 years. Any kids? No. Assets? Apartments in my name? Only joint checking? I already locked down. She makes about 1/3 of what I make. And I've got a prenup with an adultery clause. Tell me about the prenup. Ironclad. Both parties had separate attorneys review it. If either party is unfaithful, emotional, or physical, they forfeit alimony and walk away with only their pre-marriage assets. There's also a financial infidelity clause. Any unauthorized transfers over $5,000 trigger the same penalty. Is she in violation? I told him what I knew so far. The texts I'd screenshot. James' outburst at dinner confirming they'd been in contact. The $15,000 she'd loaned her sister from our joint account without telling me. He nodded. That's a start. Any documentation of the emotional affair? I'm working on it. Keep digging. If we can document emotional infidelity combined with the financial transfer, that prenup does the heavy lifting. She walks with what she came in with. We filed that Monday. I pulled the bank statements myself. Breach of prenuptial agreement. I requested she vacate the apartment within 30 days. The next week, I found more. Natalie had used my laptop to help Kelsey with paperwork and never logged out. When I grabbed a tax PDF, her downloads were still there. Bank statements, cards, past due notices, all with Kelsey's name. Behind the Instagram, Kelsey was buried in debt. Designer bags on maxed cards, a kitchen remodel at 18% interest, behind on the mortgage. She'd borrowed $15,000 from Natalie secretly, promised to pay it back 10 months ago, and people at work were sick of her. 3 complaints for bullying, taking credit for others' work, bad-mouthing colleagues. The woman who spent Thanksgiving talking about property values was 1 missed payment away from collapse. Even better, in that same downloads folder, I found 1 email thread between Natalie and James. Enough to show a pattern. My attorney subpoenaed the rest in discovery. Messages going back months. One where she wrote, "Sometimes I think about what my life would look like if I'd stayed with you." Another where he called her my future. Emotional affair documented. I called my attorney. Found something interesting. Emails between Natalie and James showing emotional affair behavior going back months. Plus Kelsey's financial mess involving the money my wife transferred. All of it documented. Send me everything. We'll see what sticks. Wednesday, Natalie got served. 2 days later, building management called me. "Sir, your situation is back outside and she's assembling props." Props? Candles? Crystals? Some kind of bowl. She's barefoot again. Call me if she lights anything on fire. I walked down and there she was. Same courtyard. Same winter air that feels like it's personally mad at your lungs. Natalie's barefoot again because apparently shoes block truth. She's got another crystal circle going, but this time it's bigger, like she upgraded to the deluxe package. There's a little metal bowl in the middle with a candle, a stack of papers, and what looked like a bundle of sage plus a printed screenshot from some law of attraction account. She had 2 tall candles. 2. One labeled Matt and one labeled Natalie written in Sharpie like that makes it binding. Security is watching from the doorway like they're waiting for a boss battle to start. She sees me and her face does that thing where she tries to look serene but her eyes are panicking. "Matt, I was hoping the universe would guide you to me. Building management called said you were doing whatever this is." She launched into her routine closing energetic loops returning harmful intentions. The divorce being just a concept. She held up the papers like they were cursed. Started chanting. "Natalie, the prenup, you violated it. The prenup was signed under a lower frequency. We were different people then. We signed it 2 years ago. You're the same person, just worse at hiding it." She tried the pivot. Thanksgiving was a test. James was the universe showing her what she needed to heal. She'd been doing the work. "You've been texting him for months. That's not a test. That's cheating." Her face twitched. The serene mask cracked. It was emotional support. You were always so closed off. There it is. My fault again. She reached into her bag and pulled out a folded paper titled Intention Agreement with bullet points about trust, growth, and mutual abundance. You want me to trade a legal contract for that? It's about energy, Matt, not control. Natalie, no. Security shifts closer. Her voice starts shaking. If you do this, you're blocking your own happiness. I don't think I will. I already did a cord cutting with James. The candles proved it. Candle wax isn't admissible evidence. Natalie. I hand her my attorney's card. What's this? All communication goes through counsel. No more texts. No more energy lectures. She stares at the card. Then, because she can't help herself, she holds the divorce papers over the candle again. I'm sending it back. I look at the security guy. If she lights anything on fire, call the non-emergency line. I look back at Natalie. Paperwork doesn't care about vibes. She starts crying. Matt, please. I love you. You love the idea of not being alone. That's different. Goodbye, Natalie. I don't argue. I don't debate. I just turn and walk back inside. Behind me, she's still whispering affirmations into the cold air, trying to manifest a reality where disrespect doesn't have consequences. Jared texted me 10 minutes later. Bro, she's outside again. Security says she tried to return to send her your divorce like it's junk mail. Some people learn. Some people light candles at problems and call it growth. Then came Chris's text. Matt, I need to talk to you. Can we meet? We got coffee that afternoon. He looked different, alert, like someone who'd finally woken up. I'm filing for divorce. I saw everything at Thanksgiving. How Kelsey orchestrated the whole thing. How she's been lying about our finances. I've been documenting everything for months. I was just waiting for the right moment. He handed me a few printouts, confirmed what I'd already found on Natalie's laptop, plus filled in gaps. James had been lying the whole time about the condo. He'd been crashing at a friend of Kelsey since before Thanksgiving. The 3-bedroom with city views was just a corporate furnished rental with a move-out date circled. Past due notices for his car lease, collection letters, a performance plan at work. The regional director wasn't thriving. He was cosplaying success with overdue notices and a short fuse and the emails between Kelsey and James. They'd planned the whole thing. One email from Kelsey 3 weeks before Thanksgiving. Mom's on board. We'll do it at dinner. You just need to be charming and let the comparison speak for itself. Matt will either blow up and prove he's unstable or sit there and take it and prove he's weak. Either way, Natalie sees what she's missing. They choreographed everything. The toast, the comments about property values, the condo bragging, all scripted. I forwarded everything to my attorney, the planning emails, the financial documents, all of it. Thank you for showing me the full picture. Thank you for showing me it's okay to walk away. I've been drowning for years. Watching you stand up, that woke me up. By late spring, the divorce was final. For months of back and forth, 2 mediations that went nowhere. Then she finally signed. Prenup held. Natalie got her car and her stuff. Nothing else. Clean break. The assault charge got dropped. Chris's detailed statement confirmed James swung first. And the DA wasn't chasing a losing case. But I wasn't done with James. Civil court's a different game. I sued for assault and intentional infliction of emotional distress. Took 8 months. Those planning emails would have been read into public record at trial. James knew it. He tried to settle at $5,000. We went back and forth. Settled at $18,500. Every dollar came out of pocket because he'd let his renters' insurance lapse. I donated half of it to a local youth boxing program. Felt right. The other half went into my savings. Call it the placeholder fund. Kelsey's termination landed about 6 weeks later. HR finally moved on those complaints. She tried to negotiate a quiet exit, but the paper trail was too thick. James got let go after. Turns out the performance plan was just a formality before they cut him loose. Chris's divorce took longer, about 9 months once the financials got audited. He kept the house and primary custody. Kelsey got supervised visits and a payment plan for the debt she'd hidden. And me, I'm good. Deb Tree, drama-free. Got a promotion in February. Senior accounting manager now. The irony isn't lost on me. Met someone new a few months ago. A physical therapist named Hannah. Practical, grounded, no crystals, no manifestation podcasts, just normal conversation and real laughs. It's refreshingly boring. She asked about my last Thanksgiving. My mother-in-law ended up covered in turkey. That sounds like a story. Her ex-boyfriend's fake watch ended up in a puddle of gravy. She was picking stuffing out of her hair for days. Had cranberry sauce in her eyebrows. I need all the details. Maybe someday. Short version. I left that dinner with my dignity. A prenup enforcement and a story I'll tell forever. Sometimes I think about that scene. Deborah on the floor wearing the main course. James next to her, jaw swelling, sitting in gravy. Kelsey's designer dress ruined. Chris finally laughing. They wanted me to fold, to beg, to prove I was worthy. Instead, I threw one punch, watched Karma deliver the turkey, and walked out. That's not revenge. That's just consequences with gravity. And honestly, it's the most peaceful I've felt in years. If you enjoyed this video, please hit that subscribe button. It really helps the channel and help us bring you more and better stories.